Hey Trevor, how's it going? Matt, I cover the A's for the San Francisco Chronicle. Nice to meet you.
Good. Hey, nice to meet you, Matt. How are you doing?
Hey, good, thanks. First of all, I just wanted to ask, what made the A's a good fit for you when you were kind of looking around at your potential free agent destination?
Yeah, good question. That's one I think I anticipated getting quite a few of those. A couple big things. One, I am from the Northwest originally. All my whole family's in the West Coast. Being fairly close was pretty high on the list this time around. It's my parents are getting older. My wife's parents are getting older. A lot of people know me as a professional baseball player, but have never seen me play. And so there's some excitement there. We have a lot of friends in the Bay Area as well. I've spent a lot of time down there. When I was a kid, I really wanted to go to Stanford, so it's I've always had a special attachment to the area. And I grew up loving hyphy music as well. So it just made a lot of sense for a lot of these reasons. Obviously, they were willing to kind of match what I was looking for in a deal as well. That was also very exciting to get that going from a monetary standpoint, and taking care of my family and all of those things. And another big thing was I grew up a Mariners fan. I live in Seattle now, but there was always this affinity to the Oakland A's and the organization, from the Moneyball movie to my dad grew up. He graduated high school in 1974, and that just happens to be a coincidence, of course. And he's been an A's fan since he was 18. So it's been it just kind of like piqued my interest in all those ways. And then I think that where the team's at, in rebuilding mode, and a lot of young guys, so many young guys that there's so much opportunity here and so much potential for those guys to kind of take a step forward. And I've been on teams, I've been on 200 win teams and 100 loss team in my career. And I know what it's like to be in all of those situations and how quickly things can change, and what a group of hungry young guys all trying to make a name for themselves in a league can do. And that's really exciting. That's something I want to be a part of. There's a lot of teams out there right now that are a little plug and play, that you could just be slotted into a group of guys that you're going out there and you're gonna, you're gonna win, and be competitive and be there at the end. I there's something about the improvement aspect and the process of getting to a competitive team, and doing it with the tools that you have in front of you. That's just really, it's just really fun. And I like having fun and playing. And there's so many dudes over there that I think are going to be really, really great players. And I really I wanted to help in any way, shape, or form I can. And obviously, my performance being the forefront of those. So all of those things factored in. I hope that was a comprehensive enough answer.
Yeah, very thorough. Thanks. And just a quick follow-up. Do you know anybody on the team or the staff? And also, I mean, do you feel like there's any key for you kind of have to trying to bounce back from last season besides the health standpoint?
Um, in terms of knowing people, no. I'll just go there. Except for the new bullpen coach, Mike McCarthy, was actually my bullpen coach in 2018 when I was in AAA with Rochester Red Wings. I think that was his first year being a bullpen coach. So I do have that connection. But other than that, I have not had a lot of run-ins with people in the organization, and it was very similar in the Mets when I signed with the Mets, except for Jeremy Hefner. He was the only guy I really knew going over. So that's exciting as well. I haven't really been plugged into the West Coast baseball scene at all my whole life. Like, people don't even know I'm from over here. And so there's a certain pride there, and I get to meet a lot of people that have been around here for a long time playing down here. So that's fun. And in terms of working through injury and stuff, I think that last year was something no one really expected. I definitely didn't. I think the lockout had a good amount to do with it. 3 week spring training did not help. Trying to get the uncertainty of knowing what's happening and stuff. I think I just tried to go too fast. Definitely a different thing this year, but I was very happy with a lot of the meaningful changes we made, a lot of things we learned about myself from that injury, and things that maybe could have can be added to my routine to avoid things like that in the future. I think we did a great job there, and I felt better than I felt in, probably a couple of years there at the end. I felt like I could have pitched another 4 or 5 months, and that was really, really exciting. So I was very, very happy with the foot I ended up on at the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to taking a lot of those things into this season.
Let's go to Manolo next.
Hello, Trevor. How are you? Manolo Hernandez doing Baseball por Gotas. Welcome to the Bay Area.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your career started as a starter of very solid seasons with the Minnesota Twins.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had some pretty solid seasons as a reliever before the injury. Could you talk a little bit about how you think you're going to fit in this athletics pitching staff? And being a possible spot starter is a possibility for you?
Spot starting, that's interesting. I actually haven't thought about that at all. That's very interesting. And my relationship with starting is tumultuous, to say the least. I tried to start for like 4 or 5 years and just kept running into crazy obstacles from not having a spot for me. The reason I was moved to the bullpen is because we had Urban Santana coming back anyways. I wasn't even for performance when I did, and then I threw really well, and it just became this weird thing, like, we like him in both roles. Which one do we need him the most in? And that's kind of what happened. And then after that, there was an injury, and then there was Tommy John, and then there was a couple of years missed. And so I'm pretty easy in terms of role. I take pride in being able to throw multiple days in a row. I take pride in throwing in high leverage. I take pride in closing games out. I take pride in throwing multiple innings, being a fireman. Take pride in coming in with the bases loaded and striking out the side to get out of the inning. That kind of stuff. Those are the things that like get me up in the morning. So I'm just going to be kind of the season will be my oyster, and if they want me to do something specific, I would love to have those conversations and help in any way I can. That's the biggest thing I think I'm taking into the season, is trying to be as open to change and open to creating value for the Oakland A's in any way possible. And even if that's not even necessarily performance at all times, or even playing and just, helping other guys figure some stuff out. Like I that's super exciting as well. So I'm open to doing those things. If that means winning baseball games, then I'll do it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Martin Gallegos.
Hey, Trevor. Good to meet you.
Hey,
Martin Gallegos, MLB.com.
Awesome.
You mentioned just last year having to deal with the injury and stuff. It did seem like after you came back from the stress reaction, you did start to pitch better and ended the year pretty well. Was it a matter of just getting healthy, or were there other factors that kind of maybe helped you, I guess, kind of get your season back on track that you kind of found?
I mean, the injury was a major issue. I think that it was there from the opening day. Stress reactions are weird because they literally happen over time. It's not a single event. It just slowly deteriorates to where you can't be effective. And as a reliever, that's like something that you have anyways. You're always checking in, like, how's my arm feel today? What percent am I at? 80% is probably good. I can go out and pitch, right? And it just kind of got worse than that. And I just, you want to avoid the IL, like the plague. Like, nobody wants to go on the IL. So I tried to tough through stuff that I probably shouldn't have for 2 or 3 outings, which really hurt statistically my overall year. And then I ran out of time at the end. It was just one of those things where you have to take a lot of time off because it's bone related. Like, there's just nothing to do. You can't rehab bones. They got to heal. And I think that I made some meaningful changes in terms of pitching as well in the second half. Some big adjustments and just bought into them quickly. Changed the grip of the changeup. Started to think about my slider a little bit differently and tried to turn it into more of a power slider as opposed to like a harder curve ball, which is what it was turning into. And I made those adjustments. They were in August because that's when that's when I was back. So I didn't have a lot of time for those to kind of shake out and really become weapons. But there was some big, green light stuff there. Really exciting things. Special changeup became a swing and miss pitch. Slider became more effective for getting ahead of guys and using it in different situations. The fastball ride came back, which was, I threw a splitter earlier in the year. It was a little change. I threw a straight change before that. I needed something that moved as opposed to difference in velocity. So I tried to change that. I think I found a change of grip that's in between that allows me to not change. I was changing my iron path. There's a bunch of stuff going into that. Throwing your splitters are hard, especially when you're like 3 weeks spring training. So once I got back there, all the stuff started to escalate and get better and better and better, and was trending back towards not only normal, but like better than normal. And that's very exciting for me as well to take into the season. So throwing fastballs up in the zone, using the changeup off it, and filling up the zone with sliders and going out of the zone with my slider is something that if I command really, really well, I'm confident against anybody on any day. So those are my goals. It's just, and I feel like I'm in a place now to where I don't need to work to that. I'm there.
For sure. And just as a fellow Bay Area hip hop head, I got to ask you, how far back does your Bay Area rap fandom go, and who are some of your favorite artists, maybe?
Oh, favorite artists. So I always have had a soft spot for Cake the Snake, because I feel that like he's just Kevin Hart but a rapper, which is funny. But like my brother's 6 years older, and he DJ'd for a really, really long time. So he was more in the meat, like the Mac Dre area time. Mac Dre was a little bit before me, but like I love the Federation. I loved the big boys, E40, Too Short, and I'm sure if I go back into the archives, because I still have all this music, that I'll find a bunch that I completely forgot about. The Team, I love the Team. So yeah, I mean, I bet you if I threw out the Federation of the Team, people who aren't from the Bay, they don't know who that is at all. So hopefully that's obscure enough. I'm sure it's pretty popular in the area, but I'm sure there's people that I don't even know about that I'm going to discover too. So it's exciting.
Yeah. You heard of the Coliseum for sure.
Yes, let's do it.
Thanks.
Go to Jess Kleinschmidt next.
Hey, Trevor, welcome.
Hey.
You said you wanted to go to Stanford at one point?
Yes, I went on a road trip with my parents when I was 11, and my dad's just huge college sports guy. West, like Pac-12, it was Pac-10 back then. He's just like Pac-10 over any. Like if Washington's bad, we root for the other teams, except for Oregon. We don't root for them. And we went down and toured Stanford's campus, and he's like, "You want to go here?" And I was like, "Yeah, this place is awesome." And so I was 11. He's like, "You have to get straight A's." So I did. I was valedictorian. I had the opportunity to possibly walk on and play baseball. I didn't get a scholarship, but decided to go to University of Washington because it turned out that I was scared of moving that far away. And then I got drafted and moved 3,000 miles away. So that doesn't make sense at the end of the day. Honestly, being a valedictorian also didn't help me play baseball either. But yes, I really, really wanted to go, and I wanted to study architecture of all things, which we're not usually known for. I probably would have switched to business, but yeah, that was my goal as an 11-year-old, wearing my Stanford hat for the next 4 years.
Well, you definitely have a leg up with Olivia Hummer, so that's certainly good.
Yeah.
You kind of talked about your changeup and everything like that. Can you dive a little bit more in your relationship with that pitch, and just, is it still your go-to? I feel like you've had an interesting relationship with that pitch.
Yeah, it's the first off-speed pitch I learned as a kid. So I've thrown it the longest. We were a big don't throw a curveball till you're like 14 or 15 family, which I think benefited me because I avoided injury for like a decade. So it's always been a comfort. Like I've always been comfortable throwing it in the strike zone and like behind the count, whatever, I can do that. But I think that what happened was my grip I've thrown my whole life just isn't very, in the way the game's played now, isn't very effective because it's a change in velocity. And I started throwing harder. When I got into the high 90s averaging, it just got hard. And so the harder a straight changeup gets, the harder it is to get anyone to mishit it. So when it was like 89, it wasn't moving, and I couldn't get it slower because I was just there's so much more force being put into when I was throwing. And so I was like, I need to find something that moves. It's all about movement. This just isn't in vogue. This isn't the meta for my gamers out there. And so I was looking for options. I threw a splitter, and unfortunately, there's good and bad parts of this, but if an analytics person comes on to me and goes, "That thing is nasty," that's all I need to hear. And I don't really think about, because I never really struggled picking up pitches. So I just kept throwing it. And then about the first part of the year, I just was throwing a splitter. And it's really good, metrically great. Guys, I was getting swings and misses, and then it became the only pitch I was getting swings and misses on because it changed the other pitches. My spin rates went way down, and my carry disappeared, and it was turning into a sinker. And I was like, what do I do? And I didn't know what I was doing, and then my arm hurt. So like it became this whirlwind of like I can't fix anything because I can't throw bullpens, and I don't know what's going on. And then coming back, we tried to throw splitter again, and we noticed that as I threw splitters, all the other stuff got worse. So I'm like, I think that's it. Let's just go back to the changeup. I made a little adjustment to the grip, got a little bit of the movement that I wanted at the velocity that it was at. And I was like, this could be between a straight changeup and a splitter. You could give me more of a splitter option. And then as soon as I started throwing it, it was immediately apparent. Guys were swinging and missing it at it as opposed to fouling it off. And I could get it down in the zone, which I throw high fastballs. I throw high straight changeups too. It was just very hard to distinguish. And when it was down, people were like, that's a changeup because it looks different. So I found something, I think, that it looks like my four-seam fastball and has the movement profile that I'm looking for. That's very exciting. So that's kind of the adjustment I made.
Love that. And then my last one, what are your thoughts just throwing at the Coliseum, the vibe itself and all, the foul territory, kind of all of that in one?
That's so exciting because Citi Field has no foul territory. Target Field actually had quite a bit, and I think benefited me. I get lots of pop-ups foul. And the first pitch I actually threw in the big leagues was Coco Chris popping a ball up foul in the Coliseum, and Trevor Plouffe catching it, almost falling over the mounds, the home mounds. So I did make my debut there against Jeff Samardzija. It won't take you much of a Google search, but I walked 7 in 2 innings. So don't look that. It wasn't great, but I have the soft spot. It's the first stadium I ran out onto a stadium. And Torrey Hunter told me when I was a rookie, to go out, just look around, just like take it in. Good, bad, or indifferent, you always remember that moment. So my first experience is Oakland Coliseum. And obviously it's the biggest stadium, it's massive. So that was like whoa. So I have the special place in my heart for the play. It's the first place I went, even though it went absolutely horrible. But I'll never forget it. That can't take that away from me. And, it can't hurt to have pop-up foul caught more often than going into the stands, and maybe I don't have to throw as many pitches to guys. So I'll take it. It's a pitcher's park. I mean, unless it's, daytime in September, then it kind of flies a little bit. But, it's California. That's what happens. But for the most part, it's a pitcher's park, and I can't get mad at that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go to John Becker next.
Hi, Trevor. It's John Becker from the Bay Area News Group. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, great. Hey, over the years, I've kind of enjoyed your lighthearted and sort of self-deprecating videos. And obviously, you're someone with no shortage of levity. How important do you think it is to have fun and sort of keep the mood light throughout, a long baseball season?
I would argue that it's one of the most important things. Baseball seasons are just astronomically long. In terms of just number of games. Actually, no, it's just the longest. It's the longest of any of the sports. And it's every day. It's all the time, every day. So if you can't approach it from at least sometimes from a point of levity, like, that didn't go well. Like you'll just go crazy. And things start to compound on you a little bit. It's hard to move on to the next day when you can't make fun of yourself. And so you notice that from the guys that have been around longest. The longer you're around, the more you make fun of yourself, and you don't take yourself as seriously because it's hard. And I think that when you go somewhere with lots of expectations, I think it's harder and harder to harder. It was tough at times when I was in New York, but I just think that's just the nature of every place is different. And I think that it was a little harder to find space for that. But it's something that's part of me. It's how we've always been. It's, it might be a defense mechanism. I don't know, but it's great. And if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then what's the point? And so I think that there's that's something that I've always loved about whenever I see, A's guys on the intentional talk or whatever. It was always Votey, and he was always being the ref. But like even with Bass and with Hanna and the sideburns and like all these guys who I know now, it just makes a lot of sense. And I just think there's lots of space to be yourself and just be crazy. You know, look at me. I'm growing my first beard of my life right now because I'm now in Oakland A, and I want to have a beard, and I want to wear my pants up, and I want to have the striped socks. I want to have stirrups, and I want to go out and just really lean into the character of the playing baseball, because that's why I started when I was a kid. And I think that I got a little too serious. Maybe I got too serious in the middle for a bit, and now, you know, I think that guys tend to play the better when they're having fun anyway. So it all kind of just, it helps. You get the results at the end of the day, anyways. Like, you don't have to be serious to get results. So, or not, like, you don't have to be deadly serious all the time to get results. And so there's a way, and I think it's very important. I hope that it's infectious. I hope that I know the guys there are already having fun, but I hope that I can make it even more fun.
Right. Now, one other question. Now, you briefly touched on gaming. As a father whose teenage son just took all his gaming equipment cross country for his freshman year, I understand how important it can be to some people.
Yeah.
Can you what would best illustrate just how much you're into gaming and esports?
Ooh, that has been a journey. I would say maybe 4 years ago, I would have been like, it means the world. Like, I could do this for my full-time job. I think that it's always had a special place in my heart. I've been a gamer my whole life. Like I said, I have a brother that's 6 years older than me. We'd always share our consoles. So that's how I got the regular Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and N64 when I was a kid, is by us being tandem, have to share it. So we each got games. So it started there. And then I had a best friend that I grew up with whose dad was an auto mechanic who also loved building PCs, like in the early 2000s when it wasn't that big of a thing. And he had this like little LAN center in his house. They had like 4 desktop PCs. So like all the neighborhood kids would go play. So it's become a point of comfort for me. It's a creative outlet. I'm a pretty creative person. I think that once I'm done playing, that'll become very, very, very clear. But I've always been I need creative outlets in order to relax, and it has become that for me. So I play like lots of games that are very open, sandboxy, and where it's just your creativity that's driving what you're doing. And so that's been in vogue for me over the last 18 months or so. And so yeah, that's how I approach it. And also it's a good way to stay in touch with my friends. So,
right.
Because I'm obviously not with them all the time. So all of those things are the other role that gaming plays in my life.
One quick other gaming question. I know that you used to randomly play and you would use the sign-on Go Mets. Have you dropped a Go A's yet?
I have not hit you with the Let's Go A's yet, but it's coming. And that is something you will be able to count on for me. And I know that there's some Mets fans that won't like it as much that I do it for us too, but everyone's going to have an emoji, and you're going to have to figure out who the players of the games are for me. But I'm going to keep that tradition going. Well, I'll hit you with the Let's Go A's, and I'll just Let's Go A's right now. It's the first one right there. That's the official kickoff. But yes, that is one way that I love to engage with fans. And I think they really enjoyed it, trying to decipher who I was talking about and enjoy the win with us. So I hope I'm going to bring it with me to the Bay for sure.
Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah.
We have time for 2 more people. We'll go back to Matt Kawahara.
And just a couple of quick follows. Do you know how many teams checked in on you, or how many teams you were talking to before kind of settling in Oakland?
I could give you a rough, maybe like a dozen or 15 at some point, just like where there was a mention of my name in a conversation. I'll give you a little context. My agent also has Jacob deGrom. So as you can imagine, they were like, Jake, and he'd be like, Trevor. So, and that's kind of where they came from a lot. So he was very busy with him and stuff. But yeah, I think there was about 15 overall. And I was pretty specific about what I was looking for this year. Honestly, surprised myself a little bit how specific and how strongly I wanted to be in the area. So I'm very happy that I was able to stick to my guns a little bit and really go for a place that I felt that I was going to be valued and that was going to be a lot of fun to play.
There were a few former A's on the Mets last year. I was just wondering, did you talk to Bassett or Canner or any of those guys about Oakland before making the decision?
I talked to Bass a few days ago or a few days before, and he has nothing but great things to say. And he's had nothing but great things to say when he came over. They're very different in a lot of ways. But in terms of like the family aspect, it's a group of tight knit people. That I think that was the thing that probably perked my ears up the most. And then Canna went to Berkeley. Like he loves the area. So he's like, dude, it's awesome. He goes, you've been down there, He goes, but I loved every minute. It was wonderful to be able to play there close to where I went to school. And he's from California too. So it's just like, you're gonna love it. It's very, very. There's lots of great, and he's a huge foodie, and we're both. He likes food a lot more. He's more of a foodie than me. But we've done a couple food things related in New York where we went on some tours and stuff together. And so, and he's like, yeah, dude, the Bay Area is great for this too. Like the food. I'm like, and I'm living in Seattle. I'm like, the Asian inspired or Asian influenced food is my favorite. So I think there's not really a better place. But many people say San Francisco is better than Seattle. So I'll take that. Let's go. I'll eat. I want to try every sushi place that exists.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap up with Janie McCauley.
Hi, Trevor.
Hi.
Janie McCauley from Associated Press. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Another small town Washington kid here. Went to the other university. We'll get along okay, won't we?
Okay. Yeah, my sister went there, so it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. And I have family who went to UW. So, kind of getting back to a follow up on what John asked a little bit. Trevor, you've been through injuries. You've been through, you talk about you wake up in the morning wanting the ball and in those situations late in the game. And how do you sort of, at this stage in your career, help along the youngsters who are going through it and maybe have some failures? And you've got Dalton Jeffries, who's coming back from a second Tommy John, and just the A's roster tends to change week to week. And you can maybe be somewhat of a stabilizing force. And there's a mental health aspect to all this as well.
Absolutely. You're yes, you nailed that. That's one thing that I'm really excited to see how I can help. I think that I'm not shy about talking about the difficulties of trying to reconcile the fact that you're out there trying to stay and you're out there trying to perform. You're trying to reconcile like the what's best for the team, what's best for you. Like it's just such a push and pull. You have to like figure out ways to be a happy soldier, but also like be honest. And it's almost impossible to do without any like seeing anyone else do it. So having a veteran in your bullpen like is very important because bullpen is the most fluid group of guys usually from team to team. So I think that I have a wealth of knowledge in that area. So guys have questions on, or what should I do if my arm's bugging me a little bit, but like I don't want to say anything because I don't want to, like you got to take care of yourself, and that's important. But I also think that in terms of a dynamic of a successful bullpen, without established roles like the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th of bullpens, that's just not the way that it's done anymore. There's a lot of moving around and stuff. The closer's kind of rigid for a lot of teams. For the most part, like 7th, 8th, and 6th, 7th, 8th, they're like, and 5th, and a lot of it are just like you could be throwing the 5th and then the 8th the next day. So like I would love to help build a culture of like, once you start to see yourself being put into the same situation overall, really embracing that, preparing for that role and that situation, and then with the goal of I'm going to hand this ball off to the next guy, and we're just going to build off of each other's performance. So like when the guy shuts down the 6th, the game's now over because the next 3 guys are all going to shut it down, and you just don't have any chance. And the more you do that, that just puts your, like if you have a position to win and you're winning late in a game, you got to win those games. It's so important. We're the first kind of layer of defense for establishing that the game is over at that point. When you don't have to worry about that, the offense feels a little bit less pressure. The defense feels a little bit less pressure. Starters feel a little bit less pressure. That they have to do everything. They throw 8 innings because the lead might not be held. Like it kind of starts with us. Finishing games off is very, very important. And so thinking about it that way, like give me the ball. I want the ball next. Give it to me next. Guys running, trying to like fight each other when the phone rings so they can get on the mound. That's something that'll, if you take that mindset going in, you will stay around. You will find motivation to get better every day, and you'll have a lot more fun because you'll just you're going to feel really good about the things you're doing. And that's what's so exciting about the other 7 guys in the bullpen having about the same amount of service time combined as I do, which is really fun to think about. That excites me a little bit, but also like they have so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They have so much ahead of them, and there's so many great arms out there, guys that have potential to be forces in this league, not only this year, but for years to come. If I can help anybody get to that point, then I'll consider it job, mission accomplished for sure.
And I'm guessing, Trevor, that over the years you've learned, even the best closers or relievers fail sometimes.
Yes.
And how I'm guessing over the years you've learned to better deal with the bad days or the injuries. And how do you get through those stretches that are maybe a little rough?
I am a big action. I need to find something actionable based on, so I'm really good at retroactively looking what happened. And I think that I've developed a good system. I believe that throwing a pitch is a 3-step process. And usually when things don't go well, there's a problem with one of those 3 steps. And if it isn't, and if it's a guy just beating you, then you don't have any control anymore. So I apply that to how I determine success or not success. And then, so if it's a poor outing where I made a bad decision or I didn't execute something because my body doesn't feel great or whatever, the next day I have something that I can do the minute I get there to make that situation better so that I will have a better opportunity to be successful next time. Having that mindset gets me excited to get to the field the day after a tough outing because I want to get back on the mound. And that has aided me in a lot of ways that I've been able to limit these things to one day and pitch really well then that next day and just get right back on track immediately. So where it doesn't matter. And they call it flushing it or whatever. Some guys just whatever. I'm just going to keep doing exactly the same thing I'm doing. I'm just too analytical to do that. So I try to hack it so that I get there eventually. I just do it in my analytical way. But find something that I can work on and then get excited to get to the field the next day to work on it. And that usually keeps me motivated and feeling good and not letting things spiral like, oh no, is this going to go poorly? Those are intrusive thoughts that are just going to be there forever. Any young guy asks me that, I'm like, I'm in year 10. They still happen. They don't go away. So you just find ways to deal and be ready to go the next day.
Okay. Thank you. And Steph Curry does Lock In Dub Nation. So you're going to start this Go A's.
Let's go A's.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.